Last week in Michigan politics, Ottawa County and its health officer in court to decide the fate of her job, what the judges decided. Plus, experts and officials sounding the alarm on artificial intelligence and its potential impacts on the 2024 election, what you can do to keep our elections safe. And state leaders announcing a new campaign aimed at bringing more people to our state amid a lingering population problem. I'm Josh Alburtus, and this is your 13 on Your Side Rundown. Joining us, West Michigan, we start in Ottawa County, where the current health officer remains locked in legal battle to keep her job. The Michigan Court of Appeals heard oral arguments Wednesday to determine if Hambly is the duly appointed health officer and whether Ottawa County has the authority to remove her without cause. The case stems from a preliminary injunction Hambly was granted in April to keep her job. The county's attorney says one of the reasons they could terminate her is that she was not properly appointed as the health officer, basing that argument off of minutes from the previous commission in December that said approval by the board was needed before her appointment.
If the motion had said, we're appointing Ms. Hambly as the permanent health officer once she clears MDHHS credentials and once she passes a background check, I would agree with you, we would not be sitting here. But that's not what the motion said.
It's really hard to have a lot of faith in this commission as an impartial decider of the facts, given all of the statements they've made since the beginning that what they want to do is install their own person.
The commission has its hearing whether to terminate Hambly for cause based on actions she took during the county budget process that Chairman Joe Moss claimed showed her incompetence, but that she said fell within her duties. That hearing is now tentatively set for October 24th. And just a day after those oral arguments, the Michigan Court of Appeals made a decision in that case. While the decision they reached was a victory for Hambly, both sides have indicated it's not over yet. The Michigan Court of Appeals ruling on Wednesday in the case of Adeline Hambly, Ottawa County's health officer battling to keep her job. In their opinion, the court ruled that Hambly is the appointed Ottawa County health officer rather than on the interim basis that the county was arguing, based on minutes from the previous Board of Commissioners that listed the county's approval as a contingency of her hiring.
We disagree with the reasoning of the court. We think it's very clear. The minutes of the meeting control, not the resolution. You can't have a resolution that changes what the minutes recorded of what the actual vote and decision of the board was.
The Court of Appeals also ruling, however, that the county does have the authority to remove Hambly from her position if they can prove that she is, quote, incompetent or guilty of official misconduct or habitual or willful neglect of duty. This means that commissioners are still able to go ahead with a termination hearing scheduled for later this month.
We're very pleased that the Court of Appeals agreed with us and that the board can follow the law, and they intend to do so. And the hearing will be held on the 24th of October, starting on that day.
The board is alleging incompetence for actions Hambly took during the county budget process that she said fell within her duties as health officer. Hambly's attorney on Tuesday, however, saying they worry it will not be a fair process, given the events in January when commissioners attempted to remove Hambly, which led to her lawsuit.
We know what they've intended since day one, and so it's really hard to have a lot of faith in this commission as an impartial decider of the facts, given all of the statements they've made since the beginning that what they want to do is install their own person.
In the week and a half left before the hearing, both sides are gearing up.
We will present a full case in her defense at the hearing, and if they remove her, then we'll go back to the court and ask for relief from the court.
She'll have her day.
Preliminary exams for 6 people charged in the Michigan fake elector case have been pushed back to December. This comes less than a week after a Michigan judge denied 2 defendants' requests to have the charges dropped. Those preliminary exams were initially scheduled for October 12th, but attorneys want more time to look through what they say is an overwhelming amount of evidence. A total of 16 people are accused of conspiring to give Michigan's electoral votes to former President Donald Trump over President Joe Biden in the aftermath of the 2020 election. Preliminary exams for the other 10 charged, including Wyoming Mayor Kent Vanderwood, are currently scheduled for November 2nd. All of the people involved have pled not guilty. And federal prosecutors want to sentence former Michigan gubernatorial candidate Ryan Kelly to 3 months in prison. Kelly had an unsuccessful run for the Republican nomination for governor in Michigan last year. In July, he pleaded guilty to charges for his participation in the January 6th Capitol riot. He's being charged with entering or remaining in restricted grounds without lawful authority, a misdemeanor that could lead to up to a year in prison. However, he wants to avoid prison time and is asking a district judge for probation time instead. Kelly is expected to be sentenced on October 17th. And Governor Gretchen Whitmer signing new legislation to help fill Michigan's teacher shortage. The bill allows retired teachers and public school employees to return to work while also being able to get retirement benefits and health care. Previously, retirees needed to wait 9 months before returning to work in schools. Lawmakers say it's a big win, not just for retirees, but also for families and students. It was a full house at Northview Public Schools earlier this week as the school board met for the first time since announcing a review of 8 books. A review committee made up of 2 board members, parents, and teachers is reading the books. Even though the book review was not on the agenda at that meeting, it was a major topic of discussion. More than 24 people shared their thoughts on the subject.
One sentence in this policy says no challenged material may be removed solely because it presents ideas that may be unpopular or offensive to some. I would argue that these books are exactly that, offensive to some, and only some. So to me, right there, I feel like we could just shut the door on this and say, we don't need to do this.
I still have 2 grandchildren here. I'm worried about protecting them from smut, from filth that is out there. Where do we draw the line? We draw the line at porn. And these sections of these books are full of graphic porn. What goes into our minds can affect us for days and months and years. We cannot forget these things once seen.
The review committee will meet again in December to give a recommendation on the books to the interim superintendent. The Grand Rapids City Commission signed off on tens of millions of dollars for the city's public museum for its first major expansion since it opened in 1994. It will include a change to the riverfront, a new public entrance, and school assembly space. The $50 million project was approved by the City Commission earlier this week. It will increase access to the river for everyone while increasing the learning opportunities for students.
The value of our programming, which is pre-work and post-work, putting artifacts and specimens in students' hands and engaging them in a visceral, multi-sensory kind of experience. And so one of the things that we want to do is be able to enhance our science programming, and part of that is to get to the river and be able to access the river.
The project is expected to get underway this fall and could take 2 years. Economic leaders in our state joined Governor Gretchen Whitmer to announce a new $20 million campaign to market our state. Using television, print, radio, and online tools like social media, the You Can in Michigan campaign is set to highlight Michigan's economy and jobs market to people around the country in hopes of attracting new people and new talent to Michigan. Michigan's Economic Development Corporation says this new campaign is the largest state talent attraction campaign and effort in the United States. It comes as the state is continuing its years-long and widely known Pure Michigan campaign, and as the state has faced challenges in encouraging steady population retention and growth in recent years. Amid that current situation, this campaign is set to differ itself from the more travel-based Pure Michigan ads by honing in on the state's economic environment to attract potential job seekers.
These efforts to talk about the business climate, to talk about the talent, to lure, great talented people to Michigan or keep our talent here in Michigan are all components to making sure that we've got an economy that grows and thrives. And that's why all of these pieces are really important to have in our arsenal to tell the Michigan story.
This also comes as Michigan has targeted other states in recent months with ads marketing the state to people based on the state's rapid efforts on social issues, expanding on things like abortion rights and LGBTQ rights in Michigan. Now to your voice, your vote. As we get closer to the 2024 elections, experts and officials are warning that new artificial intelligence technology could pose some challenges to our democracy. Experts are saying these technologies that have evolved so quickly since previous elections can pose concerning challenges, and it's important that officials and the public get ahead of those in the lead up to next year. New technologies bringing new possibilities to modern America. But as artificial intelligence becomes more advanced and more common, experts are warning of a growing threat ahead of the highly contested 2024 elections.
We have made some pretty big advancements in AI technology, especially deep learning. And they are able to now create images and videos and audios which are much higher quality than what we had earlier.
Technologies like deepfakes to put out false video with false audio of candidates and others are sparking concerns over these kinds of technologies from those in charge of elections.
This is being talked about in clerk world of what the benefits and the harms of AI could be.
AI users can now more easily than ever manipulate images to make it appear like someone is saying something that, in fact, they never did.
Now, if you had never heard me before, you'd be tempted to think that that was my voice, and that was something I had actually said. That video took just an image of me and only a few minutes to create on a free AI service. But for bad actors who are spending much more time with much more advanced AI on images of candidates and others, it can be used to spread misinformation and exploit political divides. Overseeing voting for one of the largest cities in the state, Grand Rapids City Clerk Joel Hondorp said officials and their partners must work harder than ever before to meet the challenges of the current scene.
Information coming out from cities, counties, the state on correct information about elections. I think we're just gonna have to up our game as far as social media messaging. And also working with the media to get out that information.
But experts say it's up to everyday voters as well to tackle challenges that AI could pose to what could be a critical election for the nation.
The users need to be a lot more watchful than they have been any other elections. So do not trust anything you see on this social media. Go to the news source and rely on that. That's the first thing users need to do.
Josh Alburtus, 13 on your side. And a ballot proposal in Muskegon County could help transform a crumbling road in Muskegon County. In April, we showed you the massive potholes on Blackmer Road between Ravenna and Coopersville. In a few weeks, people will vote on a proposal that will help fund a fix. As 13 on your side's Charlie Tinker tells us, if it doesn't pass, that paved road could be turned into gravel.
Carla Byron had to use a yardstick, you'll remember, to show you just how deep some of these potholes were. The biggest one she found was 7 inches deep. You can see it's been replaced by this patchwork, which is virtually all over the road, but you see the water ponding there. These are quick temporary fixes because the real issue is what's below the surface.
People are kind of lined up, car against car, just waiting their turn to go around this jungle of potholes.
That was Teresa Chikowitz speaking to us back in April. She's lived in the area for years and said her street could barely be called a road anymore.
It's just a nightmare.
At least partially because of what it's built on.
It's a clay base. That's not the way to build roads. Regrettably, within the next couple of years, the improvements that they made started falling apart.
The managing director of the Muskegon County Road Commission says paving over every one of these bad spots costs his department up to $55,000 every year.
We've spent more in the last 10 years trying to keep it together than what they spent building the road.
The longer lasting fix, Halka says, would come with an even larger price tag. $3.2 million. That would be the cost, at least, to Ravenna Township taxpayers under a proposal on the ballot there this November. If approved, it would allow the township to tear out and rebuild Blackmer along the roughly 3-mile stretch between Ellis and Wilson from the roadbed up. We've seen a lot of drivers slow walking these big stretches of potholes. You can see there are several dozen in this area alone, potentially out of fear of damaging their cars. I had one woman flag me down who said she had to replace 2 front ends after nosediving into one of the deeper ones. She said she'd almost prefer a gravel road to what's here now, which Halka says would be the alternative if the proposal fails to resonate with voters.
At least we can put a truck out there and blade it every week and keep it a lot smoother than what it is now, quite frankly. Ultimately, our goal is give better service than what's there.
If you live in the area and expect to be voting on this, we will link to the ballot language over there on our website, 13onyourside.com. Should be a helpful resource for you. In Muskegon County, Charlie Tinker, 13 on your side.
And that's the rundown for your week in Michigan politics. Be sure to keep up with all the top political stories of the week, both on air and online at 13onyourside.com. See you next week.